This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's episode of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. This is your Extreme Rules prediction show, as well as a bit of a go-home show for Extreme Rules. We're going to cover all of it. We're going to take a look at what's going on with Extreme Rules. Of course, we're going to take a look around the wrestling world with some news and notes, possibly who Brock Lesnar's next opponent is, what's going on in AEW, massive ruckus this Wednesday on AEW Dynamite. We're going to get into all of that, but first we're going to kick this bad boy off talking Extreme Rules. And Doc, I'm going to bring you to the main stage because you do this with me every single week. You're the one, you're the only. You are the Doc, John Macaroon, and you've got great insight when it comes into wrestling. And you've been watching and you've been lurking with the clues for the White Rabbit, and you've been following it all along just like I have. At this point, doesn't the White Rabbit basically feel like it's Bray Wyatt or bust? If it's anybody else, does it feel like it's going to be a massive letdown on Saturday night at Extreme Rules?
Fingers crossed, cuz it has to be Bray Wyatt. If you've set this up all along, now they're throwing teasers a little bit to maybe send people in a different direction, but if it's not Bray Wyatt, it'll be a huge letdown. That was the first thing I thought in my notes here was, has the White Rabbit overshadowed the entire card? Because there's a lot of good matches potentially that are going to be out here, and I'm excited to see it, especially now with the, for me, I think the Riddle-Seth Rollins match has this intrigue that is all over it. But I'm just wondering, do you think this White Rabbit thing is going to overshadow all the work and effort of, because this is a pay-per-view that tends to be violent. You look at Edge and Finn Balor having an I Quit match. This is where the spots tend to potentially be a little bit elevated, a lot of high spots, a lot of dangerous potential moves that these performers are willing to engage for the entertainment of the crowd. Is it too much, though? Do you think that they've done enough with the rest of the card to potentially overcome how excited? That's going to be one of the biggest pops of the year, I believe, if it's Bray Wyatt.
I think you've got some matches here that will be incredibly interesting. And if the wrestlers perform up to their capabilities and live up to the billing of these matches, I think they'll be just fine. But what you've done is you've created such an intricate story for so many weeks. We always talk about long-term building and how we appreciate it and how we love it. Well, this just wasn't long-term build. This was, here, you got to scan this QR code. Now you've got to go decipher this. Now you've got to figure out this cipher and decipher that. And then you've got to go down the rabbit hole, pun intended, and get on Google and try to figure it all out and see if you can pinpoint what's actually going on. This has been laid out and done so incredibly well that it has taken you on this ride every single week. And it's just little small things where they're just baby clues. And you're just picking them up and you're trying to put it all together, trying to figure things out. I don't know if there's a ton with this pay-per-view that can be done that's going to help break away from any of the limelight that this big reveal will give us. I think that the card itself is pretty strong. We've got some really good matches here. And when laying this rundown out, I was like, I don't know how the hell I'm going to pick any of these matches. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do here. A lot of times when we do these, you have a bit of an idea of who's going to win what match. I don't know who's going to win some of these matches. So I think you've got a really strong card, and I think it will hold up to if it's Bray Wyatt or whomever or whatever this reveal is. But I don't think it's going to steal any of the limelight from it. I don't think it's going to take any of the shine from it. I think the reveal itself, if it's not Bray Wyatt, it's going to feel like a massive letdown because of everything that's kind of gone into it. Everybody's put their thinking caps on. And it's not like it's just me and you sitting across the desk from each other talking about this. It's people all over the world. Like, people are on Twitter and they're sharing stuff and going back and forth and like, well, I've discovered this. Oh, okay, that's cool. I've discovered this. Okay, that's cool. And then that leads us to here. Oh my God, that's really, really cool. So it seems like it's just the wrestling universe has been kind of working together to solve and crack this code. And it really does feel like if it's not Bray Wyatt, it will be a bit of a bust and a bit of a letdown.
Yeah, it has to be. I think that it would be such a great opportunity now to really, with Triple H at the helm, start to write the course over a character that just never got off the ground in terms of, yeah, he had opportunities. Yeah, he was really over. But for whatever reason, just felt like the rug would keep getting pulled under him by having these feuds that ended up having it where Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, would put over other characters when he was the hottest thing in wrestling. So especially early on, The Fiend's entrance was, we were talking about it being on par with The Undertaker in terms of how cool it was and how intriguing it was when you could pull it out. I remember distinctly our talks about it, that it could be an annual WrestleMania thing. Maybe don't do it as often. So it has to be. This has to be the second coming of Bray Wyatt in whatever form. It doesn't have to be The Fiend, but we have to see Bray Wyatt. He has to be the White Rabbit.
And more to kind of build on what you're saying there. This is a guy who, when he came up from NXT, ends up getting put in a match with John Cena. John Cena beats him. A guy who gets put in this weird, twisty thing with Randy Orton. I don't even know what to call it because it was so prolonged and it was so, I don't know, we never really got a finish. But in the end, Randy Orton ends up winning. Any big match that Bray Wyatt ever had, or any big feud that Bray Wyatt ever had, whether he be The Fiend or whether he be Bray Wyatt, he ended up losing. It always felt like he was this indestructible creature, but whenever he got put in matches, big matches, he always seemed to come up short. So it'll be interesting to see kind of where they place this massive reveal on this card. Like I said, this card is totally stacked, and I think we should probably stop wasting time and get right into it and start laying down some predictions for it. First off, we've got our SmackDown Women's Championship. We've got Liv Morgan, who's the champion, defending against Ronda Rousey. This is an Extreme Rules match. The entire build to this match is trying to show that Liv Morgan can get extreme. I don't think Liv Morgan's very extreme. I don't think she wins. I think this is where Ronda Rousey gets her title back, and I think Shayna Baszler has a little bit to say about it. I'm going to go Ronda Rousey, and I think Shayna Baszler plays a part in it.
I agree as well, but I have to be different here. I mean, Liv Morgan hasn't had any feuds. I mean, she hasn't done a whole heck of a lot. If you're going to start to devalue the women's title, I think this is that would be the move to make. I think Liv Morgan deserves the win. She's got to prove her toughness. You got to kind of keep the belt on Liv Morgan just a little bit longer so that she can establish herself. Otherwise, she kind of comes across as a paper champion. Give me Liv Morgan. I think that you're absolutely right that this match has the potential to be very, very, very explosive and aggressive, but Shayna Baszler will find her way to cost Ronda Rousey the victory.
All right, interesting. Already starting off differing from each other. Normally we're pretty in sync with each other, so very interesting though to kick this one off. We've got the Raw Women's Championship. We've got Bianca Belair defending against Bayley. This is a ladder match. They've done a really good job building up Damage Control. They've done a really good job trying to get you sent home with Damage Control being in power. And that was pretty much what you got on Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw was essentially the build for Damage Control to really make them feel like a legit threat. Who do you have winning this one, Bayley or Bianca?
See, this is one in my notes that I say 50-50. I could make a great case for each of them. But just based on where this story needs to go, you got to have Bayley win it. So I think that Bianca's had her run. She's done a lot of good things. Maybe the chase is a little bit different. You got to establish Damage Control as a force, and that's what they're telling. So I think in the new era of where WWE goes, you take the belt off of Bianca and you give it to Damage Control and Bayley.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way here. And again, similar to you, it could go 50-50. I think Bianca has done a great job with that championship. But if you look at the way that they have built Damage Control, ever since SummerSlam, it has been all about getting Damage Control over. And I don't think they've done a great job of getting them over, but I think especially with this build on Monday night, they sent you home saying, look, this is our new faction. This is the new head of the table, per se, for the ladies, especially on Raw. So with that, I'm going to go with Bayley as well for my winner. Now, we've got Seth Rollins taking on Matt Riddle in a Fight Pit match. Now, Matt Riddle, I believe, has taken part in both Fight Pit matches. These were both in NXT. This will be Seth Rollins' first time taking place in a Fight Pit match. We've got some news, and there was a big announcement on Monday night about who's going to be the special referee. That's going to be Daniel Cormier. Stick around for news and notes. We've got a little bit of a possibility, if you will, on what could happen with Daniel Cormier following this match. But I'm gonna go Matt Riddle. I think Matt Riddle has looked probably his most believable on Monday Night Raw. I think he's done a fantastic job getting this over. Again, this is a guy who is a veteran in the Fight Pit matches, and I think that's going to play a part here and help him win this match.
I agree. I think it's going to be great all the way around. Seth Rollins, even though he's been, on the rocket ship, he's potentially in that main event picture. You still got to elevate Riddle a little bit too to that point. And I think if it was just a regular match, I could see where Seth Rollins could take the next step forward to be the main event guy. But I think they're going in a lot of different directions now with the potential who's going to be next for Roman Reigns. So for this Extreme Rules match, Fight Pit match, I'm excited. One of the 1A matches I want to see. Give it to Riddle.
All right. You're going to go with Matt Riddle as well. Now we've got Edge taking on Finn Balor in an I Quit match. Honestly, this is a coin flip. I'm not sure where to go with this one. Who do you have winning this one?
Hey, this one's tough. This one's the toughest one because, you have Monday Night Raw and you kick it off with the long entrance with the Judgment Day. You have, the back and forth with Finn Balor and AJ Styles. You have a lot of dynamics with Rey Mysterio and his son. Dominic, the interesting part in his role in the group is kind of now, is he going to move to be an enforcer? I thought it was great when the crowd was into it, kind of chanting, "Who's your daddy?" And he kind of played into it a little bit. But this one's tough because probably the heart says that Edge should win it as he kind of now finishes out his career. But I always try now to move into thinking with my head and how it should go. Finn Balor is potentially now emerging as the leader, the figurehead of the group with Damian Priest as the muscle. You realize that there's a lot of manipulation and tactics that could go against Edge. So for me, I'm going to say it's going to be Finn Balor.
I'm going to go Finn as well. I think at this point, Finn is set for a large push, and I think maybe it kicks off with this match right here. You've seen Finn kind of duke it out a little bit with AJ Styles. I think that's been a really nice piece that they've added to it. Don't be surprised if AJ Styles somehow gets involved in this match, but I think Finn Balor comes out the winner in the I Quit match. We now have Drew McIntyre taking on Karrion Kross in a strap match. This match I'm interested in. This match looks like it could be really, really awesome. I think you and I both are huge fans of Karrion Kross. Drew McIntyre, I think, is a fantastic wrestler. We thought he probably should have beat Roman Reigns when they were in Saudi Arabia. Didn't happen. You turn around, and now you're instantly in this feud with Karrion Kross. I'm going to go Karrion Kross for the win on this one. And the reason this is his first big match. I don't know how you debut somebody and you have them lose. Like to me, that feels like old Vince McMahon booking, right? Like I'm going to debut you and you're going to lose, and then we'll build you. I don't think they do that here. I think Drew McIntyre takes the L. I think Karrion Kross comes out the victor.
I agree 100%. You're now potentially starting to maybe slide Drew McIntyre down the card a little bit into mid-card status. He had his peak. I think maybe for the time being that the peak of his career now for this cycle of his career is getting a match in his home country but ending up with the loss at Roman Reigns. He was probably the most over he's going to be for a single 25-minute period of time in his wrestling career. We'll see if he elevates back up, but for this match, it's time for Karrion Kross, baby. Time's a ticking, and the clock is going to run out for the winning ways of Drew McIntyre. Give me the win for Karrion Kross.
All right, we've got Imperium, which consists of Gunther, Ludwig Kaiser, Giovanni Vinci, taking on the Brawling Brutes, which include Sheamus, Ridge Holland, and Butch. This is taking place in an Irish Donnybrook match. They're bringing that back. I'm going to go with Man, I don't even know who to pick up with this one because I loved what we've done with Sheamus. I love the transformation of Sheamus. Like I said last week, I feel like they are building Sheamus to be a face, and I absolutely love that. I'm going to go with Imperium on this one, and I think there becomes a little bit of disconnect with the Brawling Brutes. I think it has to do with Sheamus being the leader of the group and Ridge Holland and Butch, the three of them not all being on the same page. I think Sheamus is the one who's on a bit of a different page if you pick up what I'm putting down. So I'm going to go Imperium on this one.
I agree. I wonder how it'll impact Sheamus because you feel like he's now kind of getting another surge in his career, getting into high-profile matches. People appreciating the physicality in which he does perform. Man, I want Sheamus to win badly because you realize at some point you need to be rewarded for all the hard work that you've done, the willingness to put your body on the line. The match that he had with Gunther at the pay-per-view, wow. It's still, go back and watch it again. If you guys are looking at an opportunity to watch another card, go watch Clash at the Castle. The Clash at the Castle holds up. That card really did well. Maybe stands above some of the other Saudi Arabian shows and foreign shows that they've held in different countries. It's really something where you get a card that has a lot of intrigue and a lot of pomp and circumstance. But this one, I think, goes to Imperium.
All right, we've got Johnny Gargano taking on Austin Theory. I do want to put a disclaimer out there. Card is always subject to change. What we've got today might not be what ends up airing on Saturday night. So just remember, card always subject to change. Johnny Gargano, Austin Theory. I don't think this is a very difficult one. I'm going to go with Johnny Wrestling on this one. I just think, again, you just debuted him. He's had a couple of matches. He looks good. This is a guy who Triple H obviously very, very high on. Austin Theory has done a great job basically going from where he was at in NXT, teaming with Johnny Gargano, to where he's at now. And I think Austin Theory is the future of WWE, but I think Johnny Gargano is right now, and I think Johnny Gargano gets the win.
I agree, man. He's done some great work. I think that for the first time around, just based on what we've seen this time around, wow, how badly did they miss the mark on Ciampa and Gargano in the first wave of these guys of this generation's NXT? Man, they missed with Karrion Kross. They missed badly. And so this, with Ciampa working with The Miz, really great because you get to highlight what he's about. And now Johnny Wrestling, it's going to be great, and he's going to get the W.
Yeah, I really do feel like there was a big swing and miss with both of these guys when Vince was at the head of creative. And look, both absolutely fantastic wrestlers. Both can absolutely do the job. So it's great to see them brought back under Triple H and getting a little bit of run, if you will. Just to kind of recap, the only one where we really differ on is Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey. I've got Ronda Rousey winning. I think Shayna Baszler gets involved. You've got Liv Morgan winning, and it's going to help solidify her title reign. We both have Bayley beating Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. We both have Matt Riddle winning the Fight Pit match against Seth Rollins. We both have Karrion Kross beating Drew McIntyre in the strap match. We both have Finn Balor winning the I Quit match over Edge. We both have Imperium winning in the Irish Donnybrook match over the Brawling Brutes. And we both have Johnny Gargano defeating Austin Theory. At this moment in time, I currently lead you by 5 points. Oof. That being said, there's a lot that can be made up here in the upcoming weeks and months with all the wrestling that we're going to get. So you just start chipping away. You'll catch up to me in no time. Overall, really excited for this card. I think, like I said, this is a very strong card. This is the one thing that I don't think you and I have touched on enough. Since Triple H has taken over, I think the premium live events, aka the pay-per-views, the cards have been so crazy strong. They've been so interesting. They've been laid out really, really well, and I feel like they've entertained a ton. What's your thoughts on Triple H's, I guess, fingerprints on the premium live events?
Yeah, I think it's great, the opportunity now, because, man, you recognize that for a period of time there that WWE was just really having a tough time making it so that the mid-card felt special. Like this card, top to bottom, could have 4 different matches that could steal the show. So this is what you're supposed to do when you build up a card, which is every match has kind of been built. You know the storyline. You know that the video packages will be on point. I am definitely excited. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure for me if I'm going to catch it exactly live, but I think Saturday night I will have an opportunity, maybe an hour and a half behind, to catch it with everything going on.
Bro, you're going to be hammered.
Yeah,
you're
we'll
going
see.
to the Michigan State game. You're going to watch Michigan State get drilled
Yes.
by Ohio State, and then you're going to come home basically in a box, and then you'll have to sober up to watch this.
Yes.
But you'll eventually get it taken in. I know you will.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. Maybe in the group chats there'll be some more expletives in my commentary in the group. Be like, "Why the fuck did this happen? Why the fuck did Bray Wyatt not debut?" Or it'll be like, "Oh hell no, they chose for Ronda Rousey to win it again," and that'll be it. Might be a fun time. I might have to. I might end up coming home believing State won because it's going to be an ass kicking at the level of basically the Spartans are the jobbers entering this week's they are the jobber of the week in regards to the team that's going to get their ass kicked the most. It doesn't feel like a 26-27 point spread is enough for anybody with a brain to put any action on the Spartans. It's kind of funny, the crossover there. The Spartans are the jobber of the week because they're going to get their tail kicked in, and it's just going to be tough. But to come home and be able to mix it up with the fellas talking in the group chat, I can't wait. But boy, just as much drama as there was in WWE, what the hell happened with AEW? You're going to bring it to us right now on this week's Professional Wrestling News and Notes. What the hell made your list this week?
So great segue. And it really revolves around Sammy Guevara and him possibly causing way too much drama in AEW. That being said, I feel like Andrade has to carry the brunt of this as well. On Wednesday night, Sammy Guevara and Andrade got into it backstage, which led to some pushing and punches being thrown. At least that's what's being reported. Andrade ended up getting sent home, while Sammy Guevara got to secure the pin in the main event on AEW's Dynamite. Now, that ended up pissing some people off in the back. A lot of the wrestlers were a little bit upset about it. But you have a whole lot going on here. You've got Andrade, who is very unhappy with where he's at in AEW and has been very outspoken about how unhappy he is. He ended up doing a interview with Mas Lucha where Andrade said, "Right now I feel a little stagnated. I feel like I want more. I feel like although I have a good contract, the schedule is good. I feel like the schedule, because I like the schedule because WWE was inhumane. It was quite a lot." Andrade ended up continuing, "Right now it's difficult because I want more. I feel like I want more now that Rush is back. It's the pressure that we want more." He ended up going on in that very, very same interview saying, talking about everybody in the locker room, referring to the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and CM Punk, saying, "They're all good with me. But I did have one issue with a wrestler. I'm going to say his name. It was Sammy Guevara. I had an issue with him because he once came to me in the locker room and complained that we hit him too hard. It's wrestling. Solve it in the ring. If I hit hard, hit me hard too. I learned that. He came in and he accused me like a little girl. After I learned about it, I spoke to him and asked if he had an issue with me, but he said he did not. And that was all that there was to it." It's funny because not even in WWE, for example, Sheamus likes to hit. And all my respect for him because he loves to hit hard and loves the strikes. He is wild. Even The Miz likes to throw strikes. Not even John Cena complained about me. So if he did not complain, imagine this kid who is just starting. But there's that. So this interview kind of encapsulates where Andrade's mental state is right now. Unhappy with what's going on in AEW, feels stagnated, and is kind of pushing to leave. Also has a bit of an issue with Sammy Guevara, the only person who he says he has an issue with in the back in the locker room. Well, this gets published, comes out, Sammy Guevara ends up finds out about it, and it seemed to really piss Guevara off. Guevara ended up tweeting, "You're a jobber, a favor hire. Be grateful, bitch." Andrade ended up tweeting back at him, said, "I said it to your face. If you have a problem with me, you said nothing. I won't beat your ass because I'm a professional. Don't be scared. When I say something, I name names, and I'm not scared to get fired. #Sammy. Guevara ended up tweeting back at him, "You didn't say shit to me. You're a liar, but here's some truth for you, you ungrateful prick. You would be jobless if it wasn't for your dad-in-law," who's Ric Flair, Are you really mad at me, or are you mad at yourself for failing to get over for a second time? Just go back to WWE like we all know you want to do and fuck off. Andrade ended up tweeting, okay, I'm a liar. See you on Wednesday. I'll tell you to your face again. And nothing you say that you do not have any problems. Again, tweeting is sometimes weird and spelling is weird for some people. All that being said, they end up meeting on Tuesday. They got pulled in because this all happened in the lead up to Wednesday. Tuesday, Guevara and Andrade got pulled in. They were talked to. They said, if you fight, basically, Andrade, if you fight with Sammy, you're not getting fired. You're getting sent home. Sammy, don't fight Andrade because you're going to get sent home. And they both agreed. Nobody's fighting. Well, Dave Meltzer comes out and basically confirms that this is Andrade's way to try to force himself out of AEW, to try to get fired. It really feels like at a certain point, Sammy Guevara just needs to kind of stay in his own lane and maybe not stir the pot as much, because he does kind of get into this a little bit. And this is the second incident that Guevara has been involved with somebody. You have to go back and remember the Eddie Kingston incident. Now, Eddie Kingston was a man about it and said, look, it's all my fault. But the common factor here is always Sammy Guevara. So stay tuned for that. We'll have to stick around and kind of watch how that unfolds. Sticking with AEW and more fallout from AEW's all-out scrum, it seems that the resolution to the incident that took place after the pay-per-view may take a little bit more time. According to Dave Meltzer in Wrestling Observer's newsletter, a resolution to the incident may still take time due to legal ramifications of the situation. Meltzer said, we've been hearing a decent amount about it in the past week, largely that threatened legal action has stalled everything and nobody has been let go yet, including Ace Steel. There's no time frame for anyone's return at this point. On the Wrestling Observer forum, Meltzer also stated one person has threatened legal action, has been uncooperative. It isn't clear at this time which party is being uncooperative and threatening the legal action. Now, some news in WWE. WWE has shaken up their commentary team on Thursday afternoon. The new team starting on October 7th, starting with SmackDown, Raw will have Kevin Patrick and Corey Graves. SmackDown will have Michael Cole and Wade Barrett. NXT will have Vic Joseph and Booker T. Of course, Pat McAfee is still absent because the ongoing college football season that's taking place. But according to the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, he is set to return to a SmackDown position in January. It's unsure if the SmackDown team will become a three-man team or not. One person who's not coming back, who was not mentioned in that list, is Jimmy Smith. Speaking on MMA on SiriusXM, Smith explained his feelings about the release, saying that his time with the company felt like a dream. When people say, are you okay? Is everything all right? I didn't expect to do all this. It came out of the blue. The audition came out of the blue. Getting on Raw came out of the blue, and me leaving is out of the blue. So then to lose it, I'm fine. I didn't expect to be there at all. This is all kind of a goof. It feels like a dream when you look back on it. Leaving the UFC was existentially devastating. I totally messed up that word. I'm sorry. I didn't know if I'd work again. I had no idea if there were any jobs out there for me. It was financially crushing. I lost basically everything I owned. You're listening to my voice. You know I still work for Sirius FM. You know I still have my job at ESPN. I lost out on one of my 3 jobs. Was it a big job? Yes. But I'm not in a position I was in 2018 when I experienced, professional ruin. Smith was allegedly offered a surprise new role immediately upon exiting the company. Smith began acting as commentator for WWE's Raw in May of 2021. Smith was offered a job doing commentary for Cam Soda, which is a porn site. So very, very interesting what he was offered there.
Listen, I do want to say this, though. I thought that when I heard it, I didn't hear the whispers. I've been on the dirt sheets, but more in terms of the storylines.
This came out of the blue.
It came out of the blue, yeah. So when I saw it, and it
shocked me.
I heard it from him. I saw his Twitter, and it says, "I'm sure you heard the news by now." I'm like, "What? What happened?
What news? What are you talking about?"
Exactly. He did a good job. He was into it. He knew the moves, and he was so far different from Adnan Virk that it made it so that it was a smooth transition. You have no recollection of Adnan because it was such an era of what he did that was such. It was just a complete mismatch. In this one, and Jimmy Smith came in with the knowledge, the passion, the fan, the really relatability, the connectiveness that you'd want with an announcer to the crowd. You could tell that he was just at the same level as a Pat McAfee in terms of his love for the business and his ability and excitement to relate it. So when I saw the news, honestly, I was disappointed, and I'm not exactly sure. I want to hear the British guy's foreign. I wasn't really a fan of him. I don't like his interviews. I kind of just like, it's cringeworthy. He's got that, like, I don't know if it's me, but it kind of has the persona that he's on, like, hey, everybody, you know, that kind of person. I'd rather be a little bit more authentic than the overexcited British dude, but we'll see what happens. But I'm going to give him a shot. But right now, I'm not happy.
Just so you know, he's Irish, but I get what you're saying.
There you go.
You're exactly right.
I don't even care enough to know what he really is. I just cringe. I go, oh my God, this guy's on. He's on too much. Exactly. I don't know anything about him.
Yes.
Other than I don't like him.
And then finally, we may know who Brock Lesnar's future opponent is. Rumors started to circulate late last week that we'll see Brock Lesnar at WWE's pay-per-view Day 1 on January 1st, 2023. But who's he facing? We're all scratching our heads wondering what they're going to put him in, what kind of storyline. Well, Dave Meltzer reports that they may have pegged UFC former fighter Daniel Cormier as the guy. Speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Meltzer said his name's been mentioned many times as potentially being a commentator on SmackDown, which we know isn't happening. Fox loves him from what he did with the UFC, but he's with ESPN. So it becomes kind of tricky because you've got contract deals and TV deals. Although you could get that done, but they have McAfee, and McAfee's their guy, and I think they see McAfee as a bigger celebrity than Cormier. It was announced over last weekend that Cormier is going to actually serve as a special guest referee for the Fight Pit match between Rollins and Matt Riddle at Extreme Rules on October 8th. So that is going on. Now, this is all speculation, but we're trying to connect dots here, and we're trying to make sense out of things. So it appears that Cormier will have a foot in the door at WWE. You've got a big-time fighter coming back in Brock Lesnar. I believe they have UFC history. Now, Daniel Cormier did speak with ESPN and said no one has approached him on fighting Lesnar, but he sounded like he was open to the possibility of it. And, of course, you do know that he loves WWE and he loves wrestling. He's a huge wrestling fan. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens with Daniel Cormier and Brock Lesnar going forward. But that's going to do it for this week's wrestling news and notes. Lots of things are changing, my brother.
Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. If you've agreed or disagreed with any of our predictions, hit us up, message, let us know what you think. Can't wait to watch this card with the fellas. The group chat with Kenny and Adam is always fun and intriguing because 3 different fellas with 3 different distinct views on how things should go. So make sure that you follow along with the great pay-per-view with the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Can't wait. I hope everyone has a great weekend. I can't wait for next week when we can do a deep dive and a comprehensive recap of Extreme Rules on the next episode of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast.